spool up and strap in. You're watching Simblitz. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the BravoAirspace 787. We're going to see if it's really worth it or if it's just another flop. So stick around as I take you on a cinematic review of this aircraft. First of all, I think it's important to know that this aircraft can only be purchased on the flight sim marketplace. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it also gives us some insight as we can see the ratings and reviews for this aircraft. Unfortunately, it doesn't boast well for Bravo. It's got 3.2 stars out of 5. Not exactly hope-inspiring, but we'll take a look nonetheless. So let's jump in this aircraft and see what it's all about. This is my first time ever loading up this aircraft, and I gotta say, I'm pleasantly surprised. First impressions are not horrible here. The cockpit isn't the worst looking. They've clearly done some additions. We can see a load sheet or a manifest here in the little cubby hole, along with some other additions. We got some notes, coffee cup, and a pack of chocolates. Overall, it's not looking too bad in the cockpit. It is still the default model, but what I'm really hoping for is we'll see some advancements in the system. But we'll come back to that. Let's take a look at the exterior and see how the model is on this aircraft. It's important to know that today I'm looking at the 900. BravoAirspace released two different versions, the 8 and the 9. The reason I chose the 9 is it's the most recent one and looks like it's been updated the most that I can see. First impressions of the modelling is not horrible. They've clearly done their own custom model on the exterior here with some additions of the default 787 nonetheless, but it's not looking bad. Compared to what I'd class as the king of 787s at the moment, which is Horizon Simulations, you can definitely see where it does fall short, which is very clear in the textures, especially on the engine cowling. One of the things I love on the Horizon Simulations 787 is the reflective metal cowling on the engine. It looks amazing, it reflects well, it looks perfect, it looks like it's been polished really nicely. But on the Bravo one, I find it just looks more like a painted texture. It just doesn't look as nice. It doesn't feel as real as what I'd expect. Especially since this is payware, I'd really hope for a bit more detail in those textures. But let's head back to the flight deck and take a look at these systems and see how in depth they are. Now, the first thing I'm noticing is these screens are really dusty. I think they've gone a bit overboard here with the screen dust. While it's kind of a nice little touch, it kind of looks like we've left the aircraft out in the desert with all the windows open. But nonetheless, we'll try and look past that. So far, I'm not noticing anything out of the blue. It just seems like the standard Asobo system. We'll see how much in depth it goes though. So we're at Prague today. We're going to be doing a short hop over to Heathrow. For the moment, let's take a look at the EFB. They've done nice artwork on their background for the EFB. It looks really nice, but looking nice and being functional is a different thing. So let's take a look at some of the settings we've got here. So it looks like we've got Navigraph integration, which is good. Along with that, we've got a top of descent calculator. We've got a few INOP things here. So flight data's INOP, stored charts are INOP, and the weight is INOP as well. Okay. Now it took me a few minutes to realise this, but if you look in the top right of the EFB, there'll be a little cog icon. You need to click that to enter your SimBrief username, and then you can import your plan through there. Where it says username, it actually wants your pilot ID. But anyway, we'll get our taxi on, we'll head on over to the runway, and we'll see how it performs on this flight. all that's left to do is to take off and see how we go. Engines are stable. Toga. Takeoff thrust is set. So far, everything feels pretty good. There's nothing that stands horribly wrong. Taking off feels quite nice and the handling feels pretty good so far. We're absolutely climbing out like a rocket ship at the moment, but that's okay. It feels a bit lighter and more nimble than the Horizon 787, but so far I'm actually quite enjoying the flight model at the moment. It's not horrible. But as we continue our climb out over Prague, we'll enjoy these amazing views until we get up to our cruise.
Speedbird 1 Heavy, Prague radar identified, climb to flight level 190.
Alright, we've reached our cruise, and you know what time it is. It's time to talk. So let's talk about this. The BravoAirspace 787. I'm really not sure what to think so far. They've done a great job at trying to improve the cockpit, although they've gone over the top with some things that just make it feel tacky. Like the red INOP stickers on everything just look too much. They've used red stickers on everything. The EFB kind of feels a little pointless. We can't even do weight calculations or anything like that. We've got some flight attendant panel stuff to do announcements and change the lighting. There's not a whole lot there. On top of that, the modelling in the cabin is not horrible at all. There's a few spots that look a bit iffy, like the cabin roof, but for the most part, it's pretty good. Certainly helps having more options for wing views and so on and so forth, but other than that, there's no real big advantage for me. So far, the only big difference I've felt is flight dynamics. For me, it felt pretty nice taking off, but I've only flown this once, and that's while I'm doing this review. So take that as it is. It's a raw first impressions, really, but unfortunately, I'd say that's where the good really ends. From there, it's just blurry textures and the same old systems that we've seen over and over again. It just feels like a repackaged 787 with a price tag. Compared to Horizon simulations, the only difference is the cabin that I can tell, and maybe the flight dynamics a little bit, but I don't know whether it's more realistic or more arcade. So take that as you will. It's going to be up to everyone to kind of decide how that feels for them, but honestly, so far, it doesn't feel worth it. I paid $23 Australian, roughly 15 to 16 American dollars, and it just feels worse than Horizon simulations. The only thing for me it really has going for it is just a cabin. So you got more options for wing views where you got the window cut out for videos, but other than that, it really doesn't feel good. The sounds are way worse, the textures are blurry and low res. It just feels quite poor quality, and especially for how much I paid, it just doesn't feel worth it. I was really hoping with the payment wall we'd see something like the ANF, airport navigation function, be active, where Navigraph would be implemented into the display and we'd see the taxiways clearly laid out, just like we do in the A380 and A350. That's absolutely not the case, unfortunately. In my opinion, it just feels like a repackaged 787. The only other benefit I know that people might see is it works in 2024. you do need to enable the 787 from 2020, so you need to have Premium Deluxe, but it does work in 24. So if you're considering looking at the BravoAirspace 787, at the moment at least, as of the time of recording, I'd say stay away. It just doesn't seem worth it in my opinion. The Horizon Simulations is free and it's way better. I don't want to say this add-on is complete garbage because I can see they've clearly tried to do the right thing here, but it just feels like a bit of a flop. We've just gotten our first descent down to 10,000 feet. So now let's see on this final phase of flight how the BravoAirspace 787 handles. I've got beyond ATC on and I've set the traffic to quite high. I want to see how the aircraft handles in an intense situation with lots of traffic. I'm going to hand fly it as we get on the approach just to see how it feels with the flight dynamics. I know personally it might be a skill issue, but with the Horizon Simulation 787, I found it just last minute would always sink and I'd end up slamming into the ground quite hard. So I'm interested to see how this handling goes on the approach, to see if it's any different from the Horizon Simulations one. Again, I'd take it with a grain of salt. In my personal assumption, I'd say the Horizon Simulations edition is much closer to reality than what Bravo has at the moment. So it looks like we can expect runway 27 right with the Logan 2 Hotel arrival. Again, I'm going to hand fly it for quite a bit on the approach just because I really want to see how it feels. I don't have any issue with the aircraft following autopilot and it just feels like it's the default system and there was never really any major issues there. So I'm not going to go for an ILS, I'm going to try and fly it myself. And there's 10,000 feet, so I'm going to disconnect the autopilot and I'm going to fly it by hand from here. I really want to see if the flight dynamics have changed in any way, whether they feel worse or better, and the only way to do that is to really fly it. So from here on out, this is going to be me and the aircraft just flying. Already the aircraft is feeling okay, the aircraft's trimmed out, everything feels really nice. It doesn't feel too arcade-ish in my opinion at the moment. Still got quite a bit of speed, so it's hard to really feel the aircraft at the moment. Once we get more drag and slow down, we'll really feel the flight dynamics a bit better then. So we'll wait till we get on the approach and then we'll really feel how this aircraft handles. And here we are, on final. And all that matters now is you and the plane. It's just me at the controls and I'm going to be feeling this the whole way down. So join me as I try and not slam this one. So as we roll out here and begin our short taxi back to the gate, my final thoughts are, unless you're desperate for a cabin, it's just not worth it. The sounds are pretty bad, the textures are blurry and not high res, really quite low. Modeling's not amazing but not great. There's just not really any benefits compared to the freeware. If you're looking for a good 787, absolutely check out the Horizon Simulations. It is miles better, in my opinion, than this one. But either way, this review flight was a bit different to what I normally do. If you liked it, give it a like. Let me know down in the comments what you guys like to see next, and I can't thank you all enough for the support. I really appreciate it. If you could subscribe and give me a follow, it'd help me get towards 1,000 and I'd be forever grateful. Can't thank you all enough. But until then, I'll catch you later.